everyone, it's Megan here from Meghan Makes Do, and today I'm going to show you how to make the Preston Blanket. This is the crochet version of my knit Parker throw. So I'm going to be using a waffle stitch just as I did in the knit version, but this time we're going to be using the mini waffle stitch in crochet, which uses half double crochet stitches. For this tutorial, you're going to need a total of 5 skeins of Lion Brand's Pound of Love. In the original Preston Blanket, I used this gorgeous charcoal color, which is a very dark, almost black gray heathered color. But for this tutorial, to make it easier on your eyes and so that you can see the stitches better, we're going to be using the barley color. Now, unfortunately, this color is discontinued, but I happen to have some still in my stash. So I'll be using this. It's a weight 4. I love Pound of Love, especially for blankets. It holds up super well and comes in amazing colors. We're also going to be using a size J, which is a 6mm crochet hook. This one is Knitter's Pride, which I got from Jimmy Bean's Wool. And as always, I will put links to in the description below for all the materials that I use in this tutorial. If you want to go ahead and follow along with the free written pattern, the written out version can be found on the Meghan Makes Do blog. But let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so since the Preston Blanket is rather large, it's hard to show that all on screen here. So I'm going to be making a smaller version of this blanket. We're gonna make a little mini Preston Blanket. So the main part of the blanket is this gorgeous mini waffle stitch. We're gonna be making that panel first, and then we're gonna add this beautiful ribbed stitches along the border, along each edge. So to start, we're gonna grab, again, I'm gonna use the barley color just for the tutorial, and we are going to want to chain a multiple of 3 stitches. So if you're making the full-sized blanket, you're going to want to chain 187 chains. That'll be a multiple of 3, the 186 plus 1 for your turn. But for this tutorial, I'm just going to start with 25, and we're going to make our blanket 24 stitches across. Okay, so I have 25 chains, and then for row 1, we're going to skip the first chain, and into the second chain from the hook, we're going to work a half double crochet. And then we're going to work a half double crochet into each chain all the way to the end. So for this main section, this main part of our blanket, we're just going to be using half double crochets, either regular half double crochets or front post half double crochets. So just continue working half double crochets into each chain all the way across until you reach the end of your row. So again, if you're making the full-size blanket along with this tutorial, you'll end up with 186 stitches at the end of row 1. Okay, so here's the last stitch of row 1. We have our first row, which is all half double crochets. So now we're going to chain 1 and turn. Your chain 1s in this pattern do not count as a stitch. And here we're going to start our mini waffle stitch. We're going to anchor our mini waffles with a regular half double crochet on either end. So start by putting a half double crochet into the first stitch. And then we're going to work a front post half double crochet. So here you can see our next half double crochet is right here. We're going to go behind the post, bringing it to the front, yarn over, draw up a loop, yarn over, draw through all 3. So there's 1 front post stitch made. Then we're going to work 2 half double crochets, and then another front post half double crochet. then 2 regular half double crochets, and we're just going to repeat that across until we have 2 stitches left. So work a front post half double crochet, and then front post or regular half double crochet twice. And you can see here that the stitches for half double crochets tend to slant over this way. So make sure that you're always following along and you're working into the correct area. So here's the next stitch, and this is the post for the next stitch. So again, front post half double crochet, and then half double crochet twice. Okay, so here we've gotten to the end of our row. We have 2 stitches left. So we're going to work a front post half double crochet, and then just a regular half double crochet into the last stitch. And that is the end of row 2. So you can just kind of start making out our little waffles there. For row 3, we're going to chain 1 and turn, and we're going to work 2 half double crochets, and then we're going to work 2 front post half double crochets. So we're going to be making our front post stitches around our regular half double crochet stitches from the previous row. Work 1 half double crochet, and then again 2 front post half double crochets. And then we're just going to repeat that all the way across our row until we have 1 stitch remaining. So again, our repeat is 2 front post half double crochets, and then a regular half double crochet. Okay, so I've gotten to the end of my row. I have 1 stitch left, and we're again going to do a regular half double crochet. And then chain 1 and turn. And we're just going to repeat rows 2 and 3 until we have 186 rows total. So go ahead and keep repeating rows 2 and 3. So my next repeat is a row 2. I'm going to half double crochet in the first stitch, and then front post half double crochet in the next. Then I'm going to work 2 half double crochets. There's 1 and 2, and then a front post half double crochet. And for row 2, we repeat this all the way across until we have 2 stitches left. Okay, so we have 2 stitches left. We're going to work a front post half double crochet, and then a regular half double crochet. And you can kind of start to see these little waffles a little bit better. So with the mini waffle stitch, they do tend to want to lean a little bit, but once you're done with your blanket, you can kind of block it out and get them to be a little bit more squared off. So next would be a repeat of row 3. I'll show that to you one more time. So we chain 1 and turn, and our row 3 repeat again, we start with 2 regular half double crochets, and then we're going to work 2 front post half double crochets, and then 1 regular half double crochet. And we're just going to repeat that until we have 1 stitch remaining. So the repeat is 2 front post half double crochets, and then a regular half double crochet. Okay, so I've gotten to my last stitch right here, and I'm going to work a regular half double crochet, chain 1 and turn, and then I'm going to go ahead and repeat rows 2 and 3. Again, if you're making the full size and you're just following along with this tutorial, you will have 186 rows, so you'll end on a row 2 repeat. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to continue on with our little sample here until I have 24 rows, and then I'll meet you back here and I'll show you how to add the border to your blanket. Okay, so I just finished making the main section of this little mini Preston blanket. And so now we're ready to start the border. So what we're going to do is we're going to turn our work 90 degrees so that we can work along this left side of our blanket. So the right side of our blanket will be facing us. And we're going to chain 1. And then we want to work a single crochet into the end of each row all the way across, so we get single crochets evenly along the edge here. So I like to kind of find where my bottom end of rows are. Might be a little tricky to see here, but there's like this little gap right here. So I'm going to work my first single crochet there, and then I have 2 little holes here. I'm going to go right here for my second one, and then I'm going to do that all the way across. So I'm going to find those little holes and single crochet into each of them. And so since I have 24 rows, I should end up with 24 single crochets. Same as for the full size Preston, you'll have 186 rows. So you'll want to have 186 single crochet down the edge of your blanket. So we're just going to continue to single crochet until we get to the end here. Okay, so I've got 23 stitches so far. I'm going to work my last one here. That's 24. Okay, and then we're going to turn our work 90 degrees again, and we're going to work 1 single crochet into each chain stitch that we started with. So that's 1, 2, and again, since we started with 24 stitches here, I will have 24 stitches across the bottom here, and you will have 186 stitches along the bottom. So just know however many stitches you have across your bottom edge, you'll also have along each side. So I'm going to work all of my single crochet stitches around the bottom. Okay, so I've gotten to the end, and now we're going to turn our work again 90 degrees, and again we're going to work a single crochet into the end of each row all the way along the right hand side. Okay, so now that we have single crocheted evenly down the last side, we are not going to be single crocheting across the top of our blanket. We're actually going to go ahead and start working our ribbed border, and we're going to do that by working out and then back in and then slip stitching along the edge as we go to attach our ribbing. So to start, we're going to go ahead and into this first stitch of our the top of our blanket, we're gonna insert our hook and draw up a loop, and then we're gonna yarn over and draw through 1 and yarn over and draw through 2 to make a foundation single crochet. And then we're gonna wanna do that 11 more times. So insert your hook between those 2 stitches there into the chain stitch, and then we're gonna chain 1, yarn over, draw through 2. That's 2 foundation single crochets. And then we're gonna insert our hook into the chain, making sure we have 2 strands on our hook, yarn over, draw up a loop, chain 1, oops, yarn over, draw through 2. So that's 3 stitches made. And we're just going to continue to work foundation single crochet stitches until we have a total of 12 coming off the edge of our blanket. So I'm going to be making the same number of stitches in the ribbing border as the main large full-size blanket. So it may look a little funny on my little mini blanket, but that way you can see exactly how I'm going to do the border and what your border will look like. So let's see, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. This is 9. 10, 11, and 12. So here you can see we've got a row of single crochet, foundation single crochet stitches just coming off the edge of our blanket here. Okay, so now we're going to chain 1 and turn. And then we are going to work a single crochet into just the back loop only, all the way across. That was 10, here's 11 and 12. Okay, then what we're going to do is we're going to be slip stitching 2 times into the next 2 stitches. So slip stitch 1, slip stitch 2. Then we're going to turn. Okay, and this can get a little bit finicky, especially when you're working on a large size blanket. We're going to skip over the slip stitches, and then we're going to single crochet in the back loop of each stitch of our ribbing. Okay, and then again we're going to chain 1 and turn, and again single crochet into the back loop of each stitch all the way across. There's 11 and 12. So we'll have 12 stitches of single crochet in the back loop. And then this is the last stitch that we slip stitched into. So then we're going to slip stitch into the next 2. And then turn again. Again, skip the slip stitches and single crochet into the back loop only of each stitch all the way across our ribbing. So you can see that we are attaching the ribbing as we go by slip stitching into the edge of our blanket. And it helps to do that since we have those single crochet stitches that we evenly single crocheted across the edge. It makes it super easy to attach our ribbing because we'll see exactly what stitches to go into. So again, chain one, turn, and we're going to continue to repeat that process all the way along until we get to the top, or I guess the bottom edge of our blanket. So go ahead and continue repeating those 2 rows back and forth to make your attached ribbing edge. And then when we get to the part of the blanket, the bottom part, I will be back and I will show you how we're going to work across and do the other side. Okay, so here I've gotten almost to the end. I'm going to work my last 2 slip stitches. I'm going to work one on the side and I'm going to work the second one into the top stitch of the bottom of the piece. And then we're going to turn and we're going to work single crochet in the back loop, only skipping over those 2 slip stitches. And this should give us a relatively even bottom edge to our blanket, so that when we turn this next time, we'll be ready to work all the way across, and then we'll do the ribbing along the other side. So here we've made it all the way across. It might kind of curve a little bit like this, and that's just because this ribbing tends to want to pull in. But as the blanket gets used and stretches out a little bit, or after blocking, it will be more straight. So we're relatively straight across here. So we're going to chain one and turn our work. And then we're going to single crochet in the back loop only, going all the way across. So work your 12 stitches along the ribbing. Just like that. And then we're going to go ahead and continue working single crochet in the back loop across the bottom of our blanket. So we slip stitched into this stitch here. So we're going to go in the back loop only. And since mine is smaller, I have 24 stitches, but make sure that you have 186 stitches along the bottom edge. And we'll just continue to slip stitch or single crochet into the back loop only all the way across until we get to that last stitch. And then I'll show you how to start the ribbing to go back up the other side. Okay, so I've gotten to the end of my blanket. I have 36 stitches here, and this is going to be the start of the other side. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to be repeating what I did at the beginning of the bottom ribbing on the other side. Is I'm going to work 12 foundation single crochet stitches. So I'm going to go into both loops of this next stitch here, yarn over and draw up a loop, and now I'm going to start my foundation stitches. So I'm going to chain one, yarn over, draw through 2 loops. That's 1 foundation single crochet. Going into the chain stitch, making sure I have both loops on my hook, yarn over, draw up a loop, chain 1, and then draw through both loops. And I'm just going to continue until I have 12 foundation single crochet stitches. Okay, so here I have my 12 foundation stitches. Now, instead of turning and working along this side, we're actually going to be turning our work like this, and we're going to work in the back loops of the foundation single crochet, so at the bottom bumps here. So we're going to chain one, and then we are going to go into the back loop here. This first one can be a little tricky to get our hook in there. And we're going to single crochet. So go into that back loop of the foundation stitch. Take your time with this, go slow if you have to, making sure that you end up with 12 single crochets in the back loop. Okay, let's count our stitches. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay, so now we're going to slip stitch like we did before. Slip stitch 2, 1, 2, and we're going to be working our ribbing along the other edge. So then we're going to turn, and just as before, we skip over the 2 slip stitches, and we're going to single crochet in the back loop only all the way across our ribbing. And then chain 1 and turn again, and repeat the same thing that you did on this side. We're going to do on this side until we get all the way to the end of our blanket. So I'm going to go ahead and continue working just as I did on the other side until we get up here, and then I'll show you how to do the top and bottom ribbing on your blanket. Okay, so I'm almost to the end here. I'm going to slip stitch 2, again going into the last stitch on the edge and slip stitching to the first stitch at the top, turning, and then skipping those 2 slip stitches. We're going to single crochet in the back loop till we get to the end. Okay, and this is a good time to stop and make sure that you have the same number of ribbing rows as you do on the other side as well. You should end with 2 more than the number of stitches along your edge. So since I have 24 along mine, I should end with 26. Since you have 186 stitches along each edge, you should have 188 rows of ribbing. So go ahead and count your ribbing and make sure that you have the correct amount. Okay, so on the right hand side that I've already done, I have 26, but on this side I only have 25. So what I'm going to do is chain 1 and turn, and we're going to work our row of ribbing here. remember, single crochet in the back loop only. I believe that's 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Here's our last one. There's 12. And then we can just slip stitch to that first stitch again to join. And now we've got our 26 rows of ribbing on this side and 26 rows of ribbing on the other side. And I'm going to fasten off before we start doing the other edge of the ribbing on the bottom and top of our blanket. Okay, so we ended here, and these rows were working this way. So now we're going to flip our blanket over so that the right side is facing us. We'll see our little waffle stitch pattern here in the middle. And we're going to be attaching our yarn to the first stitch over here on the ribbing. And this was a foundation row, so just how we did on the other side, we're going to be going through that back loop of our foundation chains. So you can see them here. We're going back along these stitches here. So I'm going to attach my yarn and chain 1, and then we're going to work a single crochet into that back loop only across our ribbing. This can be a little tricky to get in there. So take your time, make sure that you're getting your hook into the right spot, just in that back loop of your foundation chains. There we go. So we're going to single crochet back loop only for 12. That will take care of our ribbing. And then when we get to the main panel section of the blanket, we're going to be working regular single crochet. And I'll tell you why in just a second. Okay, let's see, let's recount. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and here's our last one in the back loop. Oops. There we go. Okay, so now we've reached our main panel. And if you remember, when we were going initially around for single crochets, we did a single crochet row around the bottom, and we want our bottom to match our top. So we're going to work regular single crochet stitches into each stitch along the top edge of our blanket. So for your full-size blanket, you'll be working 186 regular single crochet. For my sample here, I'm making sure to do 24. So work regular single crochet across the top edge, and then when we get to this ribbing section again, we'll do back loop only. Okay, so I finished my regular single crochet across the top edge. I'm back to my ribbing, so I'm going to go right back to working in the back loop only. So I'm going to work 12 single crochet back loop only stitches along the ribbing. Okay, so that's the end of row 1 for our top ribbing section. And then the next few rows that we do are going to be super simple. We're just going to chain 1 and turn. And now we're going to single crochet back loop only all the way across. So we're keeping with doing the ribbing the same that we did on the sides, but now we're extending it out from the top of the blanket. So just continue to single crochet back loop only all the way across, and then we're going to repeat row 2, which is single crochet back loop only in each stitch across, for a total of 13 rows, or until your ribbing at the top measures 3.5 inches from the top to the edge, so that it matches the same width of your ribbing off the sides. So I'm going to go ahead and complete my ribbing along the top edge here, and hopefully you will do the same, and then I'll meet you back here and show you how we're going to finish off the ribbing along the bottom. Okay, so I finished up this top ribbing section. I ended up doing a total of 14 rows from row 1. So you'll end with the wrong side facing you. That'll be your last row. So then just fasten off, and then we're going to turn our work over, and with the right side of the blanket facing up, we are going to reattach our yarn, again starting with the ribbing all the way on the right hand side into that first stitch. We're going to chain 1, and then we're going to single crochet in the back loop all the way across. So again, just as in the other side, you should have 12 stitches on the side for the ribbing, plus the 186 stitches along the main section, and then another 12 on the other side for a total of 210 stitches. So I'm just going to continue to work single crochet in the back loop only, going all the way across my row. Okay, so I'm at the end of my row, and then I'm going to chain 1 and turn, and we're just going to repeat that row again, single crochet in the back loop only all the way across for a total of 210 stitches for the full size Preston blanket. And again, just as we did on the first side, continue repeating row 2 until your ribbing measures 3.5 inches, and you have the same number of rows on this side as you did on the previous side. Okay, so I just finished up row 12 on the bottom side of the blanket, so I'm ready to fasten off. And here you can see our little mini blanket is all finished, and we have a nice ribbing edge all the way around. So you can go ahead and fasten off and weave in all of your ends, and then you can enjoy your new Preston blanket. Like I said before, you can find the free written pattern over on my blog, or there's also a PDF version available in my shop. Or better yet, you can go ahead and get the complete kit from Lion Brand Yarn. Links to all are in the description below. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more.